I couldn't believe my eyes. There she was, Denise Holloway, in all her entitled glory, standing just outside the fence that led down to Pineview Lake, screaming like someone had just uncovered a national conspiracy. Except, the only crime here was her complete disconnection from reality. I had just finished securing the new lock on my freshly installed gate on my own land, when Denise materialized out of thin air, hands on hips, nostrils flaring like a cartoon villain. "You can't do this," she shrieked, pointing a manicured finger so sharply I half expected it to cut the air. "This lake belongs to everyone. Open it right now, or I'm calling the police." I blinked, stunned for about half a second, then laughed. I mean, what else can you do when crazy knocks at your gate wearing a tennis visor and wielding a copy of the HOA bylaws like it's the Constitution? "Denise, this is my lake," I said, trying not to chuckle too hard. "I own this property. The HOA has no jurisdiction over it, and neither do you." Her eye twitched. Actually twitched. "That's a community lake," she snapped. "You can't just hoard it like some greedy landlord." I pulled out my phone and showed her the deed. "You see this? This says otherwise. So if you'll excuse me, I've got a sunset and a beer waiting for me." That's when she went off the deep end. And if you've ever lived in a neighborhood run by a power-hungry HOA queen bee, you'll know exactly the kind of chaos that was about to unfold. You see, Denise wasn't just a regular HOA member. She was the self-proclaimed guardian of Maple Hollow Estates. And she took that role more seriously than a mall cop on Black Friday. She had a history, years of writing up neighbors for decorative flags, grass that was 0.75 inches too long, or wind chimes she claimed disrupted the neighborhood's auditory tranquility. And now she'd set her sights on my property, specifically my lake. Over the past few summers, she and her little HOA clique had turned my shoreline into their own picnic spot, holding unannounced gatherings, hosting real estate mixers, and even organizing paddleboard yoga classes, all without so much as asking. I tolerated it for a while, until I started finding strangers fishing on my dock, kids running around unsupervised, and beer cans tossed into the shrubs. That was the final straw. So I did what any sane landowner would do. I built a fence and installed a gate with a solid padlock. My land, my rules. But of course, Denise didn't see it that way. She began a full-scale campaign to reclaim the lake, as if she were some modern-day explorer planting flags in someone else's yard. She even printed out bogus HOA bulletins declaring the lake a shared historical resource, and went door-to-door gathering signatures from neighbors who just wanted her to stop knocking. And now, after all that, she was standing there, phone in hand, threatening to call the police on me for locking my gate. "Go ahead," I said, folding my arms. "Be my guest." She looked startled, like she wasn't expecting pushback. Then she actually dialed. "Yes, hello. I'd like to report a crime," she told the dispatcher, her voice dripping with righteous indignation. "My neighbor is blocking public access to the community lake. Yes, he installed a locked fence, and he's refusing to take it down. It's theft." You could practically hear the operator's eyes rolling through the phone. It didn't take long for a cruiser to roll up. 2 officers stepped out, and you could tell right away they weren't thrilled to be there. One of them sighed before even asking what the problem was. Denise launched into a full monologue, dramatic, breathy, with the kind of hand gestures that would have made a theater kid blush. "He stole our lake," she cried, gesturing at me like I was some cartoon villain. The officer turned to me. "Sir, is any of this true?" Without a word, I handed him my deed. The moment his eyes hit the legal description, his entire demeanor shifted. "Ma'am," he said, his voice tight with forced patience. "This land, including the lake access, is privately owned. He's within his rights." Denise turned ghost white. No, that can't be right. The HOA, the officer interrupted, "doesn't have authority over private property." Denise opened and closed her mouth like a fish gasping for logic. Then, of course, she doubled down. "This is a mistake. The HOA governs this entire neighborhood. Unless you want to be cited for trespassing," the officer said firmly, "I suggest you leave." And for once, Denise had no comeback. She stormed off with a huff, muttering something about lawyers and lawsuits. I figured that was the end of it. I was wrong. The very next morning, my gate was gone. Not unlocked. Not vandalized. Gone. Like, fully removed from the posts. At first, I thought I was hallucinating. But no, all that remained were the empty post holes and a few scattered screws. I checked my security cam footage, and there it was, 2:14 a.m., Denise and two of her cronies, Margie and Danielle, if I'm not mistaken, sneaking onto my property with gloves, bolt cutters, and a crowbar. They worked fast, like a weird HOA heist movie, and made off with the whole gate. I laughed. I mean, what else could you do at that point? She had actually stolen my gate. Like, physically stolen it. Who does that? So I called the cops again. Same officer. He just shook his head and muttered, "Let me guess. Denise." I handed over the footage. He watched silently, eyebrows raising. She really thinks she's in charge, huh? You have no idea, I said. This time, they went straight to her house. I watched from across the street as they confronted her on her porch. She tried to play dumb at first, said the gate had never been legally installed, claimed she was protecting the neighborhood. "Ma'am," the officer said, clearly at the end of his rope. "You were caught on camera stealing private property. That's a crime." Denise's jaw dropped. "I didn't steal anything. That gate was never supposed to be there." The officer folded his arms. "And who made you judge and jury?" She blushed, fumbled for words, then blurted, "The HOA. The HOA doesn't have jurisdiction here. And if you don't return that gate immediately, you'll be arrested." There was a long pause. Then she stormed inside and came back out with the gate in pieces. "Here," she barked. "Take your stupid gate." The officer turned to me. "You still want to press charges?" I was tempted, but instead I smiled. "No need. I've got a better idea." That night, I built a new gate. Bigger, stronger, reinforced. And this time, I installed a motion-activated sprinkler system aimed right at the path anyone would take to approach it. Sure enough, around 11:30 p.m., here comes Denise, tiptoeing through the bushes like a soap opera villain. The moment she stepped close, the sprinklers erupted in full blast. The scream she let out? Priceless. She ran home soaked, furious, and humiliated. Next morning, I'm sipping coffee on the porch. She storms outside, still damp. "This is harassment," she yells. I sipped again. "This is private property, Denise." She growled and went back inside. But she wasn't done yet. A week later, I get a formal HOA violation letter in the mail. 3 counts. 1 for unauthorized water devices, 1 for obstructive structures, and another for misuse of shared resources. I nearly spit out my coffee laughing. She'd convinced the board to side with her. Again. So this time, I went full nuclear. I printed out every deed, zoning law, camera footage, and the police reports. And I brought them all to the next HOA meeting. She was already there, front and center, holding a stack of accusations like she was prosecuting the case of the century. "The lake has been part of this community for years," she shouted. I stepped up with my papers and calmly explained that she was wrong about everything. I had every right to fence off my own land, install sprinklers, and deny public access. The board president, Richard Monroe, a retired judge, stared at her. "Denise, is this true?" he asked. She tried to argue, but it was over. The board voted her out that night, unanimously. Now, the lake is quiet. The gate still stands. The HOA is a lot more reasonable. And Denise? She doesn't show her face much anymore. Except sometimes, I'll catch her standing by the new fence, just staring like she still can't believe she lost. I always raise my mug and salute. "Beautiful day, huh?" She stomps off every time. And you know what? That silence, that peace. It's better than any fine or lawsuit. Some wins don't need a courtroom, just a little patience, a solid gate, and a few well-placed sprinklers. If you've ever dealt with a power-hungry HOA or a neighbor like Denise, tell me in the comments who was worse, and what would you have done in my shoes? Let's hear your stories.